so in this section, we're going to be doing real life problems, solving real life problems. And believe it or not, we've already been doing that throughout this entire chapter. You have your word problems and your bookwork, so you've been seeing these things. And so I am not going to spend a video lesson on this because for two reasons. One, you've been seeing examples as the chapter has gone through. And two, I don't want you to think of me as a crutch. What do I mean by that? I want you to be able to think on your own. So the word problems, I want you to really look at them. Pay attention to a couple things. First off, try to see if you can find what the x value is and what the y value is, or the variable I mean. And if you can figure out what the x and the y variables are, you should be able to kind of create some equations and some thoughts and some ideas. But I'm going to leave that to you. Now, how would you do all that? Well, you've got everything at your fingertips. We've talked about slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. We've talked about how to find slope. M is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We've also talked about point-slope form, which is y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. We've talked about all those things. Now it's your job to take that and see if you can apply it to some real-life questions. And just because I'm not covering those videos with you or questions with you in this video doesn't mean I won't help you, so you know how to ask. But what we are going to do is we're going to give you a little bit of a mini project, all right? So your job is to actually create your own story. So on the screen right now, somewhere over here, give or take, you should see a PDF file that I've already given to you through Schoology. And in it, you would see in the right side a graph that has some numbers going up and down the x and y axis. Now, in this, it gives you, and it says that your job is to create a story from that graph, and they give you an example of a story. So, and that example that they created was about a guy named Tom who works at an aquarium. That was their example, and they've given you an entire story. They gave you some tables. They interpreted the x and y intercepts, and they also told you, gave you another type of graph so that you could see it. So your job is to do very much the same thing. So that same graph that's in the top right corner, what you're going to do is work with a partner or by yourself. I'm not picky either way. You can work with somebody in your class or from a different class. I'm not picky either way. And you're going to write a story based on that graph. And in your story, you need to interpret the slope of the line. I'm going to look at my notes here. You need to interpret the slope of the line. You need to interpret the y-intercept and the x-intercept. Tell me what those things mean. Don't just say, oh, here's a number, but tell me what it means. Next, you need to make a table that shows data from the graph. Also, you need to label the axis of the graph with units. So don't just say, okay, here's a bunch of numbers, but tell me that, hey, these numbers represent something. Does it represent money? Does it represent time? Does it represent whatever? And lastly, give me some pictures for your story. Just give me something that represents what you do, or what this story is about. So that's what this project is. Yes, you do have some questions from 2.7 in the book that you're going to be asking, but this project is something that I want you to do to try to get an idea of what it's like to create a word problem on your own. And again, like I said, it doesn't matter if you work with somebody or if you work with someone from another class. I'm going to leave that decision up to you. All I ask is to make sure that you have it done by the due date. And that's it. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.